products here, Simone. Come on. All right, hello, wine-drinking people. Today is Saturday, September 18th. We got a great week coming up next week. We got Dennis Cake Bread at Blue Moon Fish Company on Monday. Wednesday night, hey, guess what? Another Burgundy tasting at Cafe Max. And then on Friday night, we've got our vintage Spanish tasting here at the store, going all the way back to 1942, the Marqués de Murrieta Gay wine, and a lot of other great stuff, including the 1970 Vega Sicilia Unico, one of the legendary great old vintages of Unico. All right, well, what I had to drink yesterday. Well, yesterday was Friday, and not one supplier in the store, but we still got plenty to talk about here, folks, because, you know, Friday is happy hour. And that's right, Chardonnay Ray and the Consigliere stopped by, and I had a couple things open in the store. The subject of what I've got to sell you today, the Jadot Santenay, was open, the red, and then, well, we had a bad bottle. You know, this happens every once in a while. 1997 Louis Latour, bad bottle. Oh, hey, it was corked or something. It matterized. It happens, okay? It's not Louis Latour's fault. Could have been bad storage, bad cork. It could have been Louis Latour's fault. But anyways, 97 is not a great vintage. Probably should have drank this wine up a long time ago, Ray. He does tend to keep his white wines pretty long. And then we had a little bit of 2000 Behringer Private Reserve. This one we've had it open several times. Drinking beautiful right now. Soft. As with a lot of the better 2000s from Napa. Drink them up if you got them. They are showing really nice right now. All right. And then a little Pinot Noir from Domaine Serene, 2003 vintage. The Mark Bradford, and it doesn't matter what vintage Domaine Serene is, man. That is one of the best producers in Oregon. That wine was drinking beautiful. All right, you know what we had last night? Our vintage Burgundy tasting. 4 events before this. I had to work hard to get to Friday night this week, but wow, was it worth it. Some incredible wines. We started out with the 1998 Talat Beau Courton Charlemagne. This is a wine we just found hanging around in the back here. It was lost the display for I don't know how many years, but the wine's still drinking beautiful. Maybe starting to hit its downside. I was a little bit tired today when I had a little sip off of it after being open for 12 hours. Starting to be a little caramelly, but still had some nice freshness to the finish. Some nice minerality to this wine and some fruit left. Nice way to start a vintage Burgundy tasting. Then we went to that 2002 Pernod Polini Montrachet Foletier, which this one was really nice. Had some lovely lemon citrus fruit to it, a little bit of lightly buttered toast, and a little gravelly minerality note to it. But still some life with this wine. You don't have to drink this wine up, in my opinion. Still a lot of great acidity. The 1996 Bonnet de Martre Courton Charlemagne was up next. As I mentioned, if you've been watching this, we had this wine in our store a couple weeks ago, and it was fabulous. And Chardonnay Ray thought this bottle was even better. Had a little more brighter acidity than the Paul Pernod wine, and had this lovely vintage Burgundy character to it, almost like a caramel and toffee note to the nose. Also, really nice pineapple candy-like fruit to this wine as well. All right, well, the red wines. We started with the Baby Jesus wine, the infant baby Jesus from Bouchard, 2001. 2001, not a very highly regarded vintage by a lot of critics, but this is a vintage that is drinking at or near its peak right now, especially a lot of these Premier Cru wines. And it was beautiful, lovely, soft raspberry fruit to it, an exotic spice, and then lovely freshness on the finish. Maybe a little bit soft, but like I said, just drinking beautiful at or near its peak. Really nice with the coq au vin that Tony made. Beautiful last night. The chicken just fell off the bone. When we do Burgundy, we try to do traditional cuisine from Burgundy. All right, next up a 2001 Georges Comte de Vogüé. This is the Chambeau Musigny Premier Cru, and this wine really just exotic. Floral notes, exotic spice, and lovely silky velvety texture, and still a lot of bright fruit left. About twice the size to me as the Bouchard wine. Really beautiful. Comte de Vogue, one of the top names in the town of Chambeau Musigny. Their Musigny, absolutely legendary, but even the Premier Cru is really outstanding, and this was one of the wines of the night for several of the tasters. Next up, the 1996 Ponceau Clos de la Roche. This is a wine that's been highly criticized. It's a great vintage from Burgundy, 96. This wine should still have quite a bit of legs, and it did. It had some tannin to it. Maybe the fruit was a little bit shy. Maybe this bottling is a little bit shut down right now. It did open up. We got a little bit left here. I'm going to try it later today. Maybe I should tell you about it in the What I Drank Tomorrow section on the Tuesday, what I drank yesterday on Tuesday. But I wouldn't say it was as impressive as this wine should have been. All right, next up, the Jaillet Gilles wine, Louis St. George. This was one of the wines of the night. Just a village wine, but even village wines can last 20 years, especially if you're Gilles Jaillet and if it's 1990. The 2005 vintage going to be similar to this. If you haven't bought 2005s, man, you're going to want to have them 10, 15 years from now because they're going to taste like this. Absolutely stunning. Had some lovely dried meat kind of characters to it, some brown spice, and really soft, velvety tannins. Still seemed like it could go another 10 years. All right, Domaine de Romonacanti, the reason why I'm sure some people came to this event last night. Hey, there was only 8 of us here. My favorite size event in the store. Plenty of wine to go around for everybody. But this wine was still a little closed. Richebourg can be the hardest wine to come around, and I probably should open this wine up 6 hours before the tasting. Oh, there's none left. Sorry, can't taste that. See what it's like today. But still had lovely nuance and lovely exotic oriental spice to this wine, and still some pretty heavy tannins, but some lovely dark cherry fruit, almost liqueur-like in concentration, but definitely showed the pedigree of Domaine de Romonacanti. And then the wine of the night, I think in everyone's opinion, the 1966 Loire Chapelle Chambertin. Loire's wines are at another level. When you show these wines at tastings, when they're mature, and they seem to plateau for a very, very long time, this wine had this lovely, sweet, cherry liqueur fruit to it that was just so exotic. The spice and the freshness on it still in the back of the palate. Seemingly, the wine could still last several years, but man, if you got this, I don't know why you would keep it any longer. It is killer, and that's what I had to drink yesterday. I'm your host, Andrew Lampazone from the Wine Watch, signing off, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.